Bullied for being weak, he is trained by demons and becomes overpowered. The anime kicks off with a guy named Shinsuke Hyoudou gearing up to take on 3 thugs when he realizes they're talking to others. A girl urges the trio to quit their thug life and get a real job, but the guys mock her, demanding her and her brother's belongings. So the guy nails one of them with his stick, taking off the 3. Then he scatters some papers on the ground, activating magic that makes 3 giant hands rise and punch each of the thugs. The guy enjoys how he sent them flying, but his sister isn't amused and scolds him for taking down the thieves. They needed to find their leader, but the guy says the thugs are unlikely to spill that info. Since questioning the guys is now out of the picture, they decide to leave. Shinsuke watches them from afar, intrigued to know more about them, impressed by the guy's technique. The girl hears Shinsuke in the bushes but keeps quiet, continuing on her way. Sometime later, they stop by a stream to drink water and eat. However, the girl is fed up with being observed and throws a stone at Shinsuke. After getting hit, he leaves his hiding spot and introduces himself, explaining he's a warrior on a training journey. The girl asks why he's following them, and Shinsuke explains that he saw how they dealt with the thugs and wants to know the brother's technique. Still, the guy refuses to spill the beans. They continue on their way, but Shinsuke says he knows where the bandit leader is and proposes a deal. They explain their technique, and he'll reveal the leader's location. The guy agrees, introducing himself as Jinka, a Sendu monk, and his sister, a fox yokai named Tama. They're sworn siblings, and the technique involves talismans infused with spiritual power. Shinsuke laughs at them, but Tama terrifies him with a snake, threatening to throw it unless he shows the way to the bandit leader. Quickly, Shinsuke agrees to guide them, and Tama puts the snake on the ground, transforming it into a branch. Sometime later, the 3 reach the place where the bandits gathered, and Shinsuke explains they are the Over-Helmet Gang, a notorious criminal faction in the region. He reveals their leader is a helmeted guy, rumored to have the strength of an ogre or even hidden horns. Tama notices Shinsuke knows a lot about the gang, and Jinka guesses he aims to gain fame by hunting and capturing criminals. Shinsuke says it's a good plan to help him train and questions them, mocking him for it when they seem to do the same. However, Tama clarifies that she and her brother have a goal, refusing to reveal it to someone who trembles in fear over a simple snake, taunting Shinsuke. The warrior gets irritated, claiming his fear of snakes is an exception, and could easily take down the bandit leader if he wanted. However, Shinsuke ends up shouting so loudly that all gang members hear his threat. Right away, the 3 find themselves surrounded by bandits, but the brothers don't mind as they didn't intend to stay hidden forever. Tama reminds Jinka that their goal is to teach the thieves a lesson. So they approach the leader, and Tama states that they come to say that what they're doing is wrong. She tells the bandits to stop committing crimes, but everyone laughs at the girl. Jinka gets ready to act, but she signals him to wait. She begins to give a speech about how the bandits will regret their actions in the future, urging them to change their lives and create a world of charity and cooperation for a peaceful life. After finishing, Tama acts as if she delivered a brilliant speech, and Shinsuke can't believe she sought out the leader just to say those things. The gang tries to attack the girl, but Jinka protects her, stating that humans aren't worth all the effort. However, Tama tells him to stop being so short-tempered. Next, the leader orders his gang to attack. In an instant, the girl leaps out of the way so her brother can handle the bandits, leaving Shinsuke once again impressed with both of them. After all, nobody dared to mess with that gang while they handled it calmly. At that moment, one of the guys tries to attack him, leaving the boy terrified. Despite the fear, he manages to strike the bandit with his sword, splitting his helmet in half. This boosts Shinsuke's confidence to face the leader. He draws his sword and makes his move, but suddenly 2 hands emerge from the helmet, grabbing the warrior's weapon and tossing him aside. A grumpy face emerges from the helmet, complaining about having to appear, terrifying the bandits. The monster makes it clear that it will kill anyone trying to escape. Tama recognizes it as a Katawara, a term encompassing supernatural creatures, ghosts, and other inhuman entities. Jinka deduces it's a strong one, having stayed hidden for quite some time. He contemplates defeating it with transfiguration, although admitting he'll feel guilty for being a Katawara. Tama doesn't care if it's human or Katawara, as long as those persisting in villainy are punished. The creature tries to attack, but they easily evade, and Tama releases a liquid on her hand, causing her brother to transform using transfiguration. It's a technique where the user harmonizes with the spirit of a Katawara, transforming partially into it. Jinka becomes much stronger in his spiritual form. The Katawara orders the gang to attack, but Jinka effortlessly deals with the bandits and faces the monster using only his staff, impressing Shinsuke once again. Jinka approaches the Katawara and attacks, but its hands hold the staff just like they did with Shinsuke's sword. It prepares to strike with its other pair of hands. However, the monk uses his strength and manages to execute his move, toppling the Katawara and splitting the helmet in half. This frees the soul of the man the monster was using, allowing it to move on to the afterlife. Shinsuke asks again about the brothers' objective. Tama explains that she likes humans and has become accustomed to eliminating those dedicated to evil, while Jinka says he just goes along with her. Tama declares that they are the siblings of world renewal. Later, they continue on their way and Shinsuke follows them. Thinking he never imagined that Kadawara has existed, feeling as if he has just discovered a new and amazing world. At this moment, he notices the two entering a house and deduces that they intend to spend the night there. Later, inside the place, a guy warns everyone to stay away from a road because he encountered a monster there in the afternoon. He recounts that Saren, a monk of the Dangyashu, tried to defeat Kadawara, which he called Shakugan, the man-devourer, but the monk lost the fight. The man sketches the monster and one of the Dangyashu recognizes Shakugan. Everyone gets upset because he killed Saren, and they inform that the monks of the Dangyashu order will handle the case and no one else should interfere. Shinsuke observes the conversation and warns Jinka that they might try to exterminate Tama if they find out she is a fox yokai, but Jinka says they already know. Tama explains that Dangyashu is an order of warrior monks that cultivate spiritual power to confront Kadawaras, and they don't kill without reason, only pursuing those who pose a threat to humans. Shinsuke notes that they both understand the matter well, and Tama explains that they have been in this life for a long time. She asks where the boy intends to go for his training to find out if he is not interested in helping them in the world's renewal. Shinsuke declines the invitation, pretending he wasn't following them, saying they went the same way only by coincidence, and he will spend the night with them just because it got late. Jinka shows impatience with the warrior, but Tama observes that Shinsuke showed determination when he tried to attack the Kadawara from the gang. In the middle of the night, Shinsuke gets up to train a bit because he wanted to get stronger. He was the son of a samurai, but when he was young, he was mocked by other children for being weak. Now this sword strike made the Kadawara reveal itself, making Shinsuke wonder if he could defeat such monsters. The warrior thinks he can follow his path with the Dangyashu or with the two brothers to become stronger and capable of defeating monsters. At that moment, Tama appears, guessing his thoughts, and throws him into the water. Jinka also appears and explains that his sister was worried that Shinsuke had gone out in the middle of the night to try to steal from someone. She admits that she worried for nothing, but Jinka didn't care because for him, it was just a great opportunity to mess with a human. Jinka leaves Shinsuke trembling with fear, but Tama reprimands her brother's behavior and explains to the warrior that that's just how he is. In the middle of the conversation, the girl feels sleepy and goes to sleep, acting like a child, making Shinsuke think he would learn more by staying with the Dangyashu. The next day, the warrior wakes up and realizes that everyone else had already gotten up and gone after Kadawara, which they call Shakugan. So he hurries to catch up with the group because he wanted to witness another battle against a monster. He manages to catch up with everyone but realizes that the situation is a bit tense. He decides it's better to hide and observe from a distance. One of the Dangyashu tells Jinka to stay out of worldly matters because they should be resolved by humans. Still, he responds that since the monks intend to harm a Kadawara, a good reason must be presented. Another Dangyashu replies that it's obvious that a Kadawara that harms people is evil, but Jinka says that if they are going to analyze the story only based on that, then humans are the villains. Tama catches her brother's attention again and asks the Dangyashu why Shakugan is hurting humans, but they refuse to answer, saying the temple instructed them not to discuss the matter. Jinka becomes irritated with so much secrecy, and Shinsuke observes that the boy truly hates humans, unlike his sister, who likes them and wants to make the world a better place. Suddenly, Shakugan appears behind Shinsuke, and the boy is startled to see how large the monster is. One of the Dangyashu pulls the warrior out of the way for the others to attack, and Jinka becomes annoyed to see that Shinsuke was spying on them once again. Next, the Dangyashu attempt to restrain Shakugan with their spiritual power. While Shinsuke is impressed, Jinka is relieved to know that they won't be able to defeat Kadawara with just that power. Shakugan manages to break free, leaving Jinka excited. However, Tama instructs her brother to help the Dangyashu. The boy dislikes the idea of helping humans but obeys the girl's requests and confronts the monster with his staff. Shinsuke is impressed with his power, and Tama asks if the warrior still wants to get involved with them because they live in that world of darkness. This only makes Shinsuke more excited because he knew he could become stronger alongside them. Jinka continues to face Shakugan, using talismans infused with his spiritual power, creating several hands that strike the monster. However, when he was about to defeat Kadawara, the boy notices something on Shakugan that captures his attention. The monster tries to attack Jinka. The boy swiftly dodges the blow and then rushes away with both Dangyashus to get out of there. Shinsuke is frozen with fear and almost gets left behind, but in the end, they all manage to escape while Jinka's giant hands hold on to Shakugan. Now in safety, Shinsuke remarks that he's impressed by Jinka's fast running, especially while carrying the two monks. Tama explains that it's thanks to the training his brother received from someone named Kokugetsusei, and the Dangeshu recognized the name of the monk Sendo, being impressed to learn that the boy is his apprentice. One of them, with an X-shaped scar on his forehead named Inga, mentions that Kokugetsusei has defeated countless sorcerers and evil spirits. Rumors have it that no human or Katawara has faced him and survived, earning him the title of the Phoenix Slayer. The man asks how Jinka managed to be trained by such a legend, and the boy explains that Kokugetsusei raised him from a young age, so he didn't have to do much to learn from him. Next, Tama makes it clear to the monks that they would be dead if not for her brother, and as a way to repay the favor, they must tell everything they know about the Katawara they call Shakugan. They agree, but Inga warns that they'll regret attacking the creature once they know the truth. He explains that Shakugan is a human spiritually modified and Shakugan is her real name. His partner, Ohao, continues explaining that the Dangeshu are trying to turn humans into Katawaras to reinforce their military power, and the girl was an experimental super soldier created by the main temple of the Dangeshu. Tama asks how she turned into a monster, and Ohao explains that they recruited peasants with spiritual potential for experiments. Shakugan among them went out of control during the procedure and escaped. He tells that after her escape, she returned to her village and killed all the residents, probably out of resentment for the discrimination and mistreatment she suffered for having spiritual energy. Inga explains that Shakugan left the bodies so disfigured that it was impossible to identify the dead, and she likely continues to roam the region in search of other survivors. After hearing the whole story, Shinsuke is furious with how the samurais and monks treat peasants like trash and treat the lives of the weak as if they have no value, needing to be strong and important to be valued. Ohao says it was never their intention for things to end up that way, thinking they were helping her as she was mistreated by the villagers. This only angers Shinsuke even more, questioning how the Dangeshu thought turning Shakugan into a monster was helping her. The monk explains that they intended to make her a member of the monastery, but after she fled, she eliminated her village and the Dangeshu they sent after her. Therefore, she stopped being a victim, and their goal changed to eliminating Shakugan. Shinsuke starts yelling at them again, but Tama kicks him and says it's a job for the Brothers of World Renewal. The man starts saying they shouldn't get involved as it's a Dangeshu matter, but the girl questions if they can handle Shakugan. Inga admits they need reinforcements to deal with the problem and accepts the help of the brothers. Then Shinsuke asks if Jinka will let others decide for him. The boy responds that he doesn't mind and will try to solve the problem with a good hit. And so they go outside and the two brothers use the transfiguration technique. Tama makes her hand bleed, and after Jinka ingests a drop and harmonizes his spirit with his sister's powers, he partially transforms into a fox yukai, while the girl's hair turns black. Inga immediately recognizes Kokugetsusei's secret technique, remembering reading about transfiguration, but comments that, at best, Jinka will only be able to fight on equal terms with a modified human. Suddenly, Shakugan appears, and they realize the creature followed them there. Jinka prepares to fight, and then starts hitting the Katawara with his staff repeatedly, although he's clearly holding back. The monks observe that Jinka isn't giving his all, and knowing Shakugan is quite resilient, they think it might not end well for the boy. At that moment, the Katawara lands a blow on Jinka and prepares to launch a powerful attack, a Dangeshu secret technique called the Roar of Celestial Tremor. The monks are worried about the boy, while Tama remains confident that the attack won't even tickle her brother. Jinka sees the attack approaching and uses the giant hand technique called the Earthly Fist of the Monarch to break the attack and hit right in the middle of the Katawara. And so the creature shatters into 1,000 pieces, making the boy think he went overboard. However, thanks to the attack, Shakugan manages to return to being human. They run to see the unconscious girl, but the two monks tell the kids to step back, saying she's under the custody of the Dangeshu. Shinsuke immediately prepares to fight, but Inga decides it's best to leave since he wasn't willing to face Jinka's powers. And so, after Uhu agrees and they begin to leave, the boy releases his power, returning him and his sister to normal. However, Tama calls the monks to say that all the culprits deserve punishment. She asks the two to show them where the main temple of the Dangeshu is, the place that conducted experiments with humans, so they can pay, surprising the monks. Inga explains that they have over 300 monks inside the temple, thinking that this would make the brothers give up. However, Jinka is pleased with the idea of beating up 300 monks at once. Realizing they wouldn't change their minds, Inga instructs the two to ask Shakugan for the location, but makes it clear that when the time comes, the Dangeshu will confront them with full force. And so the monks leave, and Shinsuke thinks that Tama and Jinka must be crazy to want to face all the Dangeshu in the temple alone. After some time, Shakugan finally wakes up. Tama and Shinsuke ask how she's feeling, and the girl is confused about what's happening, asking if the spiritual surgery is over. They introduce themselves, and since she doesn't remember anything, Jinka asks her to recount the last thing she remembers. Shakugan recounts that she had just harvested some vegetables when she returned to her village and saw her father talking to a monk. He was happy, holding a good amount of money, barely looking at her before leaving her alone with the monk. The man says he knows she wants to belong somewhere since she's mistreated by everyone in the village, and he has what she wants. After that, the monk took her to the mountains, promising everything would be resolved when she woke up and put her to sleep. That's the last thing she remembers. Shinsuke gets furious with the monks again, and Shakugan asks what she's doing in that place. Jinka explains that after the operation, she went out of control and escaped from the Dangeshu temple. Shinsuke complains about the boy's honesty, and Tama quickly invents that she doesn't remember anything due to a fever, wandering in the mountains for a few days. Then the girl apologizes for causing them trouble. Later, Shinsuke goes to cut some wood, paying for their stay, using the task to vent all the anger he feels towards the Dangeshu for what they did to the girl without caring. In a flashback, it's shown when Shakugan returned to her village as a monster and lost control when she saw everyone who made her suffer, including her own father, who still had the money he received from the monk. Back to the present, Shinsuke continues cutting wood until Tama appears asking where his brother is because everything is ready for them to go to the main temple of the Dangeshu. Shinsuke explains that he hasn't seen Jinka and wonders how the monks managed to turn a human into Katawara, but Tama simply replies that she has no idea how they did it. The lady hosting the four finds the girl cute and asks her age. Tama answers that she's around 200 and something years old, but the lady finds it amusing, thinking it's just a child's joke. Later, Shinsuke goes to look for Jinka and finds him calmly near a cliff. He explains that everything is ready for them to leave, and the boy thanks him, saying that Shinsuke is a good employee, which annoys him since he was just doing him a favor. And so the group heads towards the main temple of the Dangeshu, with Shinsuke eager to make the monks pay for making Shakugan suffer and eliminating everyone in his village, although he recognizes he's far from being strong enough to face all of them. Then Shinsuke asks Jinka if he really intends to face the Dangeshu for what they did to Shakugan, considering she's a human he hates so much. The boy clarifies that his reason is different because the Dangeshu are humans hunting Katawara, and he sees the group as a bunch of vermin that needs to be exterminated. This scares Shinsuke, and Jinka notices the fear in his eyes. Shinsuke tries to deny and act brave, saying he's not afraid of a kid like him. Then Shinsuke says he'll accompany the two until he becomes strong enough, but Jinka tells him that if something happens to him, it's not their problem. After walking for a while, the four reach the valley, where according to Shakugan, the main temple is right in the middle, making it easy to locate. Tama climbs onto Shinsuke's head to get better view and asks Shakugan if that's where her operation took place. She agrees, and Jinka thinks that to reach the temple, they have to cross the gates and go through the building to the inner area. His sister reminds them that their goal is just to scare the monks into stopping the experiments, believing not all of them are wrongdoers. Next, the girl asks Shakugan and Shinsuke to stay with her, watching the situation from the top of a mountain while Jinka takes care of everything. Her brother warns that the situation might take longer than usual, making her a bit sad. And so after the two activate the transfiguration technique again, the siblings split up and Tama goes with the others to the top of the mountain, while Jinka heads to the temple. Upon arriving, he's excited about the idea of breaking down the temple gates, but to his surprise, the Dangeshu open the doors, showing they're prepared to face him, thanks to Inga, who was waiting for his arrival. The monk assures Jinka he'll have an extraordinary funeral and orders the others to attack. The boy thanks them for the welcome, eager to face so many humans at once. Then, everyone strikes him in various parts of his body, but the Dangeshu soon realize it was just a shikigami and he was actually on the roof. At that moment, Jinka prepares to use the monarch's earthly fist on them while, nearby, Shakugan, Shinsuke, and his sister strain to see the fight from the top of the mountain. Jinka continues attacking the monks when Inga suddenly shoots his leg with a shotgun. The boy remains firm and beats the Dangeshu, giving them a beating with his staff. However, when he's about to attack Inga, Jinka realizes the monks are about to use their secret technique, the roar of the celestial tremor. After the attack, Shinsuke becomes concerned about Jinka due to the magnitude of the explosion caused by the secret technique of the Dangeshu. Inga thinks he has defeated the boy, but then Jinka attacks him and the other monks with fury, making him realize that the boy lives up to his master, even though he knows that Jinka's spiritual energy won't last forever. Sometime later, Tama observes that the fighting has stopped and deduces that her brother has managed to win and proceed on the path to the temple castle, where the Dangeshu conduct experiments on humans. At that moment, Shinsuke notices that despite the girl being a Katawara in human form, she still has fox ears. Tama then reveals that she also has human ears and explains that the fox ears are to remind her of who she truly is and are also useful for good hearing. Shinsuke asks if Tama would cease to be a Katawara if she forgets who she is, but the fox explains that it wouldn't change her nature, and that she simply likes to keep her ears during transfiguration out of habit. Then Shinsuke asks if Jinka can maintain his Katawara form by using the transfiguration technique for a long time, and Tama explains that the technique ends shortly before permanent transformation, so he couldn't remain as a Katawara forever. Meanwhile, in the temple forest, Jinka is observed by the Dangeshu and their leader Yazen, who is disappointed with his monks for allowing a simple boy to do as he pleases. The leader decides that the best course of action is to move the laboratory to a place where they won't be bothered. At the same time, Jinka observes Yazen talking and suspects that he is the boss. Next, the leader assigns one of the monks to deal with Jinka. The man faces the boy alone, confident that he will win and make him regret messing with the Dangeshu. The monk transforms into a creature and Jinka deduces that he is one of the enhanced humans who underwent the experiment. The creature advances and grabs the boy, but Jinka easily turns the tables, crushing him with a technique called the flail of the ancient tree. Then Inga appears and notices that the boy is getting tired of using so many attacks. He asks Jinka about his goal in confronting the Dangeshu, pointing out that even if he defeats the monks, he will be hunted for the rest of his life. Ignoring Inga, Jinka understands that the man was just trying to buy time until reinforcements arrive. As a reward for Inga challenging him so much, Jinka decides to answer his question and reveal what he's seeking. Jinka explains that his goal is to steal all the Dangeshu's research material to perfect his master's transfiguration technique. His dream is to rid himself of his human part and become a true and complete Katawara. After explaining his objective, Jinka continues on his path, leaving Inga surprised by his goal. The monk observes that despite being a human traveling with a fox yukai, the boy is more demonic than her. Jinka moves forward until he reaches the castle that Shakugan explained is where the experiments take place. However, he doesn't know how much longer his spiritual strength will be able to sustain transfiguration. Excited to fulfill his goal and destroy the facility, Jinka attacks when suddenly the castle moves and a giant hand hits him, sending him flying. At that moment, Tama returns to normal and realizes that her brother's transfiguration has unraveled, meaning he is either conscious or dead. Everyone worries about Jinka when suddenly one of the Dangeshu appears on Inga's orders, instructing him to capture Shakugan alive or dead and eliminate the other two. The monk transforms into a creature and Tama comments that he is one of the enhanced humans. This triggers Shakugan's memories of when she was in her monster form. Shinsuke pretends they are just travelers who know nothing about the Dangeshu or their experiments. He begs the monk to spare their lives, but it's evident he is lying since he referred to a monster as a monk. Despite his fear of being attacked, Shinsuke continues to plead for his life, hugging the creature to delay him as much as possible so that Tama and Shakugan can seize the opportunity to escape. He is determined to be stronger and not flee like a coward. However, when the monster is about to attack, Shakugan transforms her arm into a Katawara, sending the creature flying, saving Shinsuke and rendering the opponent unconscious. She explains that she remembered everything she had forgotten, recalling when she attacked all the people in her village, including children and her own father. Haunted by these memories, Shakugan begins to feel like a monster and runs away from the two. Shinsuke tries to follow, but Tama advises him to let her go, as the memories of the terror and suffering she caused are currently controlling her mind. Ignoring the fox's advice, he goes after Shakugan. This reminds Tama of when she lost a man named Genzo, who was very important to her. When he was almost lifeless, he handed her a letter to deliver to Kokogetsusai, the monk who trained Jinka, and then passed away, even though the girl pleaded for him not to leave. In a flashback, we see Jinka as a child. He was with the Katawara, and the two were heading towards a mountain, but on the way, they come across several humans warring among themselves. Because of this, the Katawara decided it was better for them to return to Master Kokogetsusai. Upon witnessing the war, Jinka was filled with questions that his friend couldn't answer, such as which side would win or how many would survive the battle. He also asked why humans were fighting, and the Katawara responded that he believed it was something inherent in human life. During the journey back, they encounter a monster feeding on the bodies eliminated in the war. The Katawara hides Jinka with his hand and turns back, but at that moment, some humans spot the monsters and start a hunt. The Katawara tries to escape, but realizing he was getting surrounded, he hides Jinka in some bushes and instructs him to stay hidden until everything becomes silent. Jinka obeys his friend, but when it's all over, he comes out of hiding and finds Katawara's lifeless body riddled with arrows, marking the beginning of Jinka's hatred for humans. Next, the boy notices a wounded man nearby who is still trying to eliminate monsters. So Jinka grabs a sword from the ground and ends the man's life. Back in the present, Jinka wakes up startled because he had dreamed about his past about losing his friend to humans. Suddenly, he hears Yazen's voice communicating with him through a fabric shikigami. Yazen comments on Jinka's survival after the blow from Taisen, the main temple castle of the Dangishu, which sent him flying. Yazen then introduces himself to Jinka as the leader of the monks and mentions that he'll have to send assassins after him to silence him since he knows too much. Jinka mocks Yazen, thinking that no one can defeat him, but Yazen ignores him and asks about Kokugetsuzei. Jinka replies that his master has passed away. Yazen says that's all he needs to know and bids farewell, dissolving the fabric shikigami. Meanwhile, Shinsuke searches for Shakugan in the forest. He was already tired from running but refuses to give up on finding his friend. Suddenly, he stumbles on a tree branch and rolls to the edge of a cliff, where coincidentally the girl was reflecting on her actions. As soon as Shakugan sees Shinsuke, she starts running, but before disappearing again, he questions why she is running away. She explains that she wants to be alone since she is a monster and a killer who has hurt many people. Shinsuke tries to tell Shakugan that she didn't do it willingly, as she was used by the monks. However, the girl says that even though her father indeed sold her to the Dangishu, she also bears responsibility for what happened because she willingly underwent the experiment when they offered power to her. Shinsuke questions what's wrong with wanting power, but at that moment, the ground beneath him gives way, leaving him hanging on the cliff. The girl gets worried, but when she sees he's okay, she takes the opportunity to escape. Shinsuke tries to climb alone to go after her, but ends up falling. Fortunately, a tree cushions his fall, bringing him safely to the ground. Then Tama appears, and before Shinsuke resumes searching for Shakugan, she asks why he is so determined to find the girl. Shinsuke explains that he doesn't really have a reason and simply feels that he shouldn't leave Shakugan alone at that moment. He believes that she and Jinka will never understand how humans truly feel. He turns to continue his search, but Tama throws a stick at his head to indicate that he's going in the wrong direction. And so the two go together to find Shakugan. At the same time, Jinka thinks that it's time to join his sister. He walks through the forest to reach her when he finds some arrows in a tree, reminding him of the horrible dream he had. This makes Jinka think that if he were as strong as he is now, he could have saved his friend. But then he realizes that he shouldn't dwell on that and should be grateful for acquiring the power that prepared him to show humans the depth of darkness. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by Shakugan, who appears running in the forest. He's surprised that her arm is in Katawara form and she's happy to see that the boy is alive. Then Shinsuke appears and jumps on the girl. Tama arrives right behind him and is happy to see her brother, who was confused and didn't understand what was happening. Shakugan tries to escape Shinsuke's embrace, but he continues to hold her. He tells her she can't run away from herself and that she's not a monster but human. Afterward, he says that weak people have no choice and can't overcome oppression, so it's natural to desire strength and power. Then Shinsuke starts crying and asks why Shakugan isn't happy now that she has the power. She doesn't understand his sadness, and they both start crying together. Tama and Jinka observe them and are reminded again of their losses. Then the fox tells her brother that just as there are kind and cruel Katawaras, there are also humans of both types. She also reminds him that he himself is human and should overcome his hatred for his kind, no matter how long it takes. Afterward, Tama asks Shakugan to join them. Jinka questions her decision as he knew assassins would come after them, and he thought it would be safer to keep Shinsuke and Shakugan away from that situation. But Tama disagrees, stating that in their group there's a Katawara, a human, and something in between, and that he has the power to protect all three. This way he could learn from them how to live his life. And so in times of war between humans and Katawara, monsters devour people while being hunted by them simultaneously. In a small group, humans and Katawaras walk hand in hand. Next week, we'll have more of this anime as soon as the new episode is released, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the like button below to support this video. See you guys.